Wait. No, that's the immune to poison thingy. We're good. I might as well equip it, even though it doesn't matter really. Proximate action. It's to create spells that generate an aura around the target. Whoa. But it's got 83 now. 83 skill points in that thing. Staff of Hours? What the hell is this? Exquisite quality. Distortion. 50% grace deflection, 50% hit deflection. It is renowned. It has an artifact ability. Slowing the sand dramatically slows enemies in the targeted area. These effects scale with the Staff of Hours renown. The glowing staff bears the mark of the sages and was wielded by the hierarchy of the Vellum Citadel before the Edict of Fire destroyed the ancient library fortress. The staff has passed down unknowable numbers of hands over the centuries, and tradition dictates that every owner imbue it with an expression of their magical aptitude. Runes encircle the length of the staff, each in a different style, some describing the names of dead Archon and other fragments of unscrutable poetry, all intended to unlock some hidden potential. The staff currently aspects is that of its previous owner, Iarch Jespers, who is an accomplished illusionist and trickster. The staff has served different purposes through its long career. It was only employed to preserve old documents or repair sections of the citadel. Dark stains around the haft tell of a time where it was dipped in vats of ink. A doomed effort to replicate the magic behind the bottomless cistern of ink known as the Everwell. And it has renown. How do you increase renown in a weapon? I don't have the slowing sand because it's an artifact ability that we'll only get once we get to Renown 1. That is so cool. Your power has increased. I don't know what power has increased, but okay.
You're trusting me with this? No, not complaining.
Well, yeah, I'm trusting you with this. This is amazing. Are you kidding? Look at that. It even has like a glowing effect. Oh, this is so cool, man. I'm loving this. Awesome. That is amazing. Love it. Love it. And some more precious stones and stuff. Dude. Was it worth it or not to get here, guys? Holy shite. It's awesome. The altar sits in the middle of a lake of lava encircled by ritual braziers. The body of the sages we gave their lives to stop the library's collapse are littered around the central pedestal. First Sage Orwell's directives. Sage Torvin. Kairos' army have been rebuffed for now, but it is only a temporary victory. I have no doubt that we may hold these walls a good deal longer, but you must remember that the Overlord aims not to butcher the Citadel's keepers, but to destroy its secrets. Kairos is not omnipotent. Her powers may be known and understood in time, and she rightly fears the knowledge we hoard here. Kairos is female? I didn't know Kairos was female. The silent archive must be protected. There is no library in the tiers that is its sequel. Nothing else matters. Nothing. We may not know the Overlord's plan, but with time and research, we can circumvent any of her designs. I need you to ensure that we will have that time when the moment is right. Focus your efforts on Sage Steya's theoretical forays into temporal magic. While we were right to deny such dangerous experimentations before, now is the time in which its risks are justified. Gather the Elder Sages and make your way to the lower chambers. You are to remain there until you devise a solution to Stea's problem of scale. Halting the flow of time in a single chamber won't be sufficient if Kairos drowned us all in the storm of Ordals, this library into the firmament. You must find a way to encase all of the Citadel in such a spell without disaster come. Should disaster come. Your success isn't optional. This library will be a distant memory if Kairos has her way. Should we both survive, I will be happy to congratulate you on your breakthrough. Until then, get to work. First Sage Arwell. Well, then didn't go too well for him, did it? Sage Torvin's notes. Sage Litotis, we can't help you with the ringing in your ears just yet. We'll have to wait to make do until the conflict is over. Yes, Orwell was very explicit in its directives. I know they seem impossible, but that is the situation we face. Everyone that could interpret the Silent Archive died in last night's attack, so we're not getting any assistance in this matter. Thankfully, I do have an idea on one which requires everyone's participation. Scale is the issue. Stea's last experiments only affected as much as a small chamber. I believe that we can amplify the spell's effect by repeating the motion of its sigils as a group, similar to the ritual magic used in primitive cultures that predated modern Tearsmen. Sage Dangling Participle believes that this will create an exponential growth in the spell's effect, but at an expected cost to stability. I'm inclined to agree. Also, we have no other ideas. No one else here has your expertise in magical foci. You've told me countless times how minor baubles can have a profound leveling effects on spells that exceed the controls of their casters. What if we used something as powerful as an artifact as the focus of the ritual? Without one, the energy involved will quickly become chaotic and almost assuredly deadly for all of us. At least, with an artifact, there's a chance that Stea's spell will encompass the entire Citadel and put it into a state of stasis. In my opinion, there's only one artifact to use, and that's the Silent Archive itself. It's clearly the most potent object in this room. Sage Dangling Participle believes that the staff of ours will suffice, but I'm not going to leave anything to chance. Better that we use the Silent Archive as our focus now and figure out how to safely retrieve it later. Not if you agree after reading this. I really hope that Blast didn't take your sight as well. So wait. If we take this scroll, the entire thing will collapse on us. Cool.
Time to lighten my step.
Remove the scroll and replace it with one of your artifacts to keep the protective magics from ending. A nimbus of magic energy surrounds the scroll, which levitates above the central platform. You see characters upon the parchment, but they seem to shift from one language to the next. Amazing! I suspected there was more to the Silent Archive than a simple vault. Extraordinary. This scroll must represent thousands of scholarly works. The motion of the characters on the scroll surface slows as you approach, seemingly in response to your presence. Examine the magical aura surrounding the scroll. Waves of energy radiates out from the scroll, billowing up towards the ceiling after fanning out to encompass the cavernous chamber. It appears that the Silent Archive is an active participant in some sort of ongoing spell, one that is likely keeping the burning library standing. Removing the scroll would assuredly have a disastrous effect upon the active spell. Analyze the active spell. This must be the time stasis spell referenced in Sage Arwell's letter. Judging by the bodies arrayed around the Silent Archive, the mages appear to have been successful in their attempt to halt the destruction of Kairos' edict, though they did not survive the process. What are you? As you utter the question, the scroll surface is suddenly wiped clear. After a moment, words begin to form on the page. Indeed, the Silent Archive is meant to be the final source of knowledge. Every text we have magical transcribed bubbles beneath its surface, waiting to be called forth. First Scribe Gainer, Sage Archival Methodologies, Volume 8. Fatebounder, should this be true, the Silent Archive would be worth more than some of the old realms. The passage fades away, only to be replaced by another. The Silent Archive is the 100-year endeavor of the School of Quill and Ink. As one of its creator and guardian, I have ensured that its knowledge may only be accessed by the sages of my order, and only those specifically charged with such a weighty responsibility. The Silent Archive is thus a glittering jewel that only a few may see. Should the artifact fall into outsider hands, I expect that less than 1 in 100 of its secrets will be revealed in the span of a lifetime. First Sage Harwell, Legacies of the School of Quill and Ink, Volume 20. In the blink of an eye, the scroll text disappears, only to be replaced by a chaotic swirl of overlapping letters and words. It refuses to respond to any further questions. Read the scroll. The parchment surface is impossible to read, ever shifting and convoluted. You see characters from Old Verdun written over calligraphy of the Northern Empire, which transforms into words used by the nomadic tribes of ancient Azure, and then again into phrases of the common tongue of the Tears. It is as if every word ever written or uttered clashes upon the scroll. Deconstruct the spell's focus. Sage Liloda's experiment with foci clearly paid off. The spell protecting the burning library is operating at a massive scale. Its chaotic energy is currently stabilized by the Silent Archive itself. Its underlying mechanism is familiar to you. It seems likely that any artifact of sufficient power could serve as a spell focus. Should the need arise, you believe you could swap the Silent Archive for another item of power without disrupting the ongoing temporal magic. Touch the scroll. You reach out to touch the scroll, but as soon as your hand passes through the cloud encasing it, a violent tremor erupts in the hall. The shaking continues for a few seconds and then vanishes. I would proceed cautiously, Fatebinder. Not even these ruins should remain standing after Kyros's edict. I suspect the sages used the Silent Archive in some way to stave off destruction. I don't want to waste my freaking artifact that we just got, man. Okay, let's try and see if we can get that and run the hell out before it collapses on us. Take the Silent Archive. Slow down. That's a load-bearing scroll. Move it and the preservation magic will fizzle. Take the scroll.
You just have to touch everything, don't you?
Feel the burn. Destroy the burning library. Uh-oh. If I had known all the running involved, should have just accepted the flames. Speaking of which, shouldn't the edict be resolved? The air surrounding you begins to thin, and the smell of ember begins to diminish, the clouds of smoke slowly revealing the sky beyond them. Oh, yeah! Boom! You feel a powerful pulse of warm energy burst from the Silent Archive. Sound disappears into a deafening silence, your vision blurs, and you are overcome by a dizziness that nearly knocks you out of your feet. Then, as quickly as it hits you, the feeling passes. The air around you begins to settle, and the particles of fire and ash that moments ago stung your eyes dissipates with a chilly gust. With the Silent Archive removed from the burning library, the Edict of Fire is extinguished, and its warmth feels pulled into your very chest, a sensation similar to the weightlessness when the Edict of Execution broke at Ascension Hall. While I'm all in favor of undoing the Overlord's magic, this whole Edict of Fire couldn't have happened to a shittier gaggle of scumsuckers. Still, the fires could have spread elsewhere in time, so you did the right thing. So much knowledge turned to smoke and ash. Ending the edict can't undo the damage, but perhaps now this place can be rebuilt. I hope future scholars can unearth whatever remaining books and scrolls are still buried within. The sages had better shape up and share their knowledge this time. Hoarding it got them here, and I hate to think that history might repeat itself. The shape and intensity of the fire leaps in your mind. The details of the mighty incantations, the wording, the magical logic of the flames, all are seared into your mind with perfect recall. The Edict of Fire is now a part of you. What? It's a part of me? You ended Kairos' Edict of Fire and my power increased. Oh, this is my power, right? Yeah. Edict of Stone. No Edict. Love it. So we just cleared that small part here of Kairos' influence. Alright, we're going. We're going. The corpses of sages are cured on these spikes. Their skin has been blackened by the heat of the magma belching from nearby fissures. Right. Let's go see our friend there, Bled and Mark. Effigy. Is he gonna be... Wait, is he still... Ashwell, okay, he's still there. Encounter in the Burning Library. An uneventful day on the road is interrupted by a loud cry. An old man, dirt encrusted and wild-eyed, dressed in a little more than tattered rags, emerges from the brush, charging feebly towards you with a sword held high. For Apex! His sandals catch a tree root, sending him tumbling into the dirt. His brittle blade strikes the ground first, snapping in two. He clutches his ribs and whispers a low groan, laying on the ground for an uncomfortably long time. His moan gives way to rhythmic, heavy breathing, and just as you step forward to determine if the old man has fallen asleep, he picks himself up, wagging the useless blade at you. The day is ours, dogs of Kairos. Continue. The man continues to ramble, and it soon becomes clear that he believes himself late for the first battle of Apex. He is correct, in a sense. The battle was waged over 2 years ago. Blissfully unaware of his kinsman's failure, he demands your surrender before generously offering to settle for a mere ransom. Kill the man, convince him that you're not an enemy and give him some rings. Disarm him and spare his life. Subterfuge. Convince him to wage war against Graven Ash. Against Nerat. Convince him to wage war against Nerat. You wait for the old soldiers to finish his lengthy tirade before speaking. As he calms, you assure him that your interests in Apex are one and the same, insisting the true aggressor is a shared enemy, the rogue Archon. At the mention of the voices of Nerat, the old man's eyes filled with the promise of glory, and it's all too easy to persuade him to take the fight directly to the Archon's stronghold. You promise him the backing of 1,000 Tearsmen and point him towards Cacophony, helpfully drawing him a crude map. He sets off on the road, broken blade in hand, to the Archon's dusty fortress, where hundreds of battle-hardened chorus soldiers await him. Yeah, he'll die. But hey, if you manage to kill at least one. Oh, look at that. There's birds now. Ah, that's great. Here he is. The shadow before you twists and flares, fusing sharply into the form of Bleeding Mark. The Archon of Shadows glides smoothly into his new surroundings.
You're not dead yet? Good. Keep this up, as I've no interest in searching the shadows for your corpse.
I've caught a few glimpses of what you did back there with the Edict of Fire. Did you mean to channel the magic of the Edict?
I'm not sure what you mean.
You don't? From my vantage point, the torrents of arcane fire didn't just vanish. They roiled and billowed like smoke. I could have sworn you were channeling that energy. Perhaps the magic was seeking you. Whatever the case, you seem a little different. You smell of brimstone and crisped parchment. You are different than before you broke the edict. I will leave it at that.
Okay.
Either way, you've filched the Silent Archive and can benefit from its influence. To be honest, even I don't know the full extent of what knowledge it can offer you, but I do know the sages poured lifetimes of effort into it. I imagine the archive was at its most useful when it was still a part of the library, before the edict did a number on it. But even now, it has a myriad of secrets to share. Can you hear its whispers? No? Then listen harder, kid.
I was never allowed to see the Silent Archive when it was in working order, but I knew there were elaborate rituals to put information into the archive, or to ask a specific question of it. You are holding the physical vessel of the Silent Archive, and while I doubt it was designed to be used outside of the chamber where it's been housed for centuries, I'm told sages who used to work with the archive reported it would speak to them in their dreams. In the benign educational sense, not in the go crazy and eat your family sense of things. I'm sure it's perfectly safe.
Longingly stroke the scrolls, but it whispers such sweet nothings to me? No. If Bleeding Mark says I'll benefit from possessing it, then I'm sure there's nothing to worry about. The Archon arches a red-smeared brow. He smirks, though he at least makes a pretense of attempting to keep a straight face.
You need to be a lot more threatening than you are now, and a little study and practice won't suffice. You'll need to aim bigger. You'll need to track down the relics of tears that escaped capture in the war. In the Blade Grave, the Stone Sea, and Haven each, there lies at least one artifact that can aid such an aura. Be prepared to travel far and wide in the effort to recover them. Aside from the practical point of getting you armed, uncovering these relics could lend you some legitimacy in the eyes of the Tearsmen, depending on how you go about it, of course.
I'm headed to Lethean's Crossing. Is there something there I should look to acquire?
Tunon has sent a forge-bound master to the crossing, and this mage-smith has just finished work on a masterpiece dubbed the Magebane. It's an iron helmet infused with wards against the Bane. While this is intended to help keep the settlement free of scourges from the nearby old walls, it would be of great use to you personally. Call it a hunch, but I'm betting you'll find the Magebane's creator, Zedenya, sweating over the fires of Lethean's forge. And while I doubt you can just convince her to hand you the helm, her knowledge of it could prove helpful to your little heist. The crossing is by a junction in the old walls, so you'll have a chance to put the helmet's Bane ward to the test. When you're ready, meet me here once more. We'll discuss what's next.
The few patches of colors on the Archon begin to darken as the edges of his form ripple and blur, diffusing into an intangible blackness. Why do I have questions? The Archon lets out a short sigh as the color returns to his image. Again with the questions? What do you want to know? What do you know about the old walled spires throughout the tiers? Now you're asking the right kind of questions, kid. What's the best thing to have when someone's trying to knife you in the back? No, not an iron cuirass. Think bigger, more impenetrable and taller, like a stone spire that can quite literally raise you above your enemies. He bares his teeth, but there's no warmth to his smile. There's a power that comes with standing above the rest, you know? Tell me about Stalwart's Ocean Spire. A couple of centuries ago, the regents of Stalwart were of a mind that greatness awaited them should they reach the top. Of course, they lost so many engineers in the process that they eventually abandoned the task for a fool's errand. But if you're looking to access the Ocean's Spire's central chamber, I happen to know of a sizable breach in the old walls, thanks to the destruction from a certain edict that should permit you illegal entrance. He eyes you with interest and challenge. Tell me about the Sunset Spire in Haven. The old walls in Haven, or rather those that still remain, connect Twin Rivers and Lethian's Crossing. However, I believe the Lethian's entrance was sealed to protect the settlement against burgeoning infestation of Bane. Tell me about the Spires of Stone Sea. That'd be the Aurora Spire and the Dawning Spire you're talking about. What I really want to know is why Cairn cut a path for the Dawning Spire when the Stonestalkers, his fiercest supporters during his downfall, had long camped the Aurora Spire. He sighs and the shadows wisps and shudder around him. Perhaps the Aurora Spire had become too tainted with blood to provide the healing he required. I have other questions. He stares at you silent and still as the night, his golden eyes two flickering flames. I want to know more. What do you know about Kairos? He shrugs. I know more about Kairos than most, which means I know enough to keep my mouth shut. How did the Overlord come into power? Such things were before my time, but from what I understand, Kairos did not enjoin the Archons with charisma and cooperation. It was the power of the Edict that terrified many into bowing. Once a trio of Archon answered to Kairos, it became a matter of time until all others bowed. Many have long wondered if Kairos was born with the power of the Edict, or if it was learned through training or experience. I know not. It would surprise me little to learn the Overlord was born able to other edicts. If the Overlord was indeed born, I have my doubts. Why do you think the Overlord is allowing the Archons to fight? Oops. I was expecting a dumber question. Kairos sure can appear fickle. Cairn was treacherous and vocal about it and gets an edict dropped on his head. The voices and Ash openly bicker and Kairos just watches. If you don't know the Overlord, it can all seem random and erratic. But I assure you, Kairos is nothing if not deliberate. I would guess Kairos is tired of the Archon of War and Secrets. There is no need for both, and so why not let their natural lack of rapport solve itself by allowing the stronger to slay the weaker? That makes absolute sense to me. How did you come to serve the Overlord? Where I come from, there's an old saying, if you strike at the chieftain, don't miss. I struck at Kairos and didn't kill her with the first blade, didn't get a chance for the second. So Kairos is a she, admit it. I'll admit anything you want me to see. You want me to, see? Lying is easy. What's the Overlord like in person? That's what you want to know. Kid, you should be worried about what the Overlord is like from afar, not one to suffer fools lightly. Enough questions for now. The Archon dissolves into the shadows. Okay. I like that he's, like, slowly giving me more info, but not all at once. A matter archival. A matter archival. Fatebinder Shido 7. Forgive me the curtness of this rushed missives. The matter is too urgent for the luxury of formalities. I know that you braved the flaming ruins of the Vellum Citadel, the archive. Did you find it? Is it safe? Asking for further information. Fatebinder Rogalis. You seem to possess more than a passing familiarity with the Silent Archive. I thought it was something of a secret. Perhaps an exchange of information is in order. Tell me what you know of it, and I can provide you with the current whereabouts. With its current whereabouts. Send it. Fuel for the Flame. Dearest Fatebinder, champions of Tunon's Gavel, slayer of Quarrymen, we hope you recognize that we bear you no ill will. Who understands treachery if not the Archon of Secrets? We've always held the very highest esteem for the work of other specialists in the art of duplicitus. Make no mistake, dear Fatebinder, after your little performance at Venerian's Well, with such a flair for theatrical illumination, you have ascended in our estimate. We trust you will understand that when we peel the flesh from your bone and squeeze the bile from your quivering innards, it's strictly out of artistic integrity and the courtesy owed a fellow professional. Nothing personal at all. Wow. But enough about our friendly rivalry. Do you enjoy the company of our little spy? Her dance never fails to inspire in us the most pleasant quivers. We have gift for her, delivered through you due to the girl's questionable faculty with letters. We learned from one of our birds that a mercenary in Haven has been absolutely gloating about slaying her sisters. His boasts even secured him work defending some crossing merchant. Show her the sigils on the reverse. She'll know what they mean. The voices on the rat, Archon of Secrets and Master of